Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Holy cannoli, you guys. It is all hitting the fan. I'm sure you guys all heard that yesterday there were incredibly damning Jeffrey Epstein emails that were released by the House Oversight Committee, and they appear to implicate Donald Trump. Well, then more emails were released today, and they show even worse news for Trump. They show that Trump was allegedly hanging out with Epstein still during his first term in office. So I have all those details to share with you. Plus, I have updates about Epstein's well known accomplice, his convicted felon accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. These same newly released emails expose her as a complete and total liar. And it shows that Donald Trump's administration is at worst, or I should say at best, they're incompetent. And at worst, they are covering for her as well and directly involved in a cover up of her crimes. So I'm going to get into all that. Also, there's a whistleblower who's been sharing information with Congress about Ghislaine Maxwell and the special treatment that she's receiving in prison. And they say that she's gearing up to ask Trump for another big favor. So first up, let's get into the emails. So this morning, the Daily Beast reported on a November 2016 email exchange. So this was between Epstein and a former Microsoft executive, a woman named Linda Stone. Shortly after Trump won the election in 2016, Stone emailed Epstein and she asked him, "Are you still in Paris?" And Epstein replied to her in this email exchange you see here on your screen, and he said, quote unquote, "Trump Tower." So he's at Trump Tower in 2016. It gets worse because there's another email exchange that appears to show Epstein spent Thanksgiving with Donald Trump. So check this out. November 23rd, 2017 was Thanksgiving. That morning, Epstein is exchanging emails with the founder of Next Model Management. That was a woman named Faith Cates. Cates asked Epstein, "Where are you spending Thanksgiving?" And he replied, "Eva," which was his ex-girlfriend, Eva Anderson Dubin. Cates then asked him, "Who else is down there?" And Epstein responded, quote, "David Fizzle, Hanson, Trump." And White House records show Trump spent Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago in 2017. He never did disclose the guest list, though. Now, MAGA is having a meltdown. They are having a field day with this one. The cope is just so crazy. They're all saying, "Oh, well, Trump was in Florida," as if Epstein couldn't be in Florida. Like, they do know he had a home there, right? Like, they're apparently unaware that it's possible for other people to also be in Florida when Donald Trump is in Florida. And did they forget that Epstein has his own jet? I mean, it's not like, and there are such things as commercial flights too. The cope, like I said, they just are looking for anything and everything that they can just latch onto to pull themselves out of this quicksand. So anyway, in a batch of emails that were released by Republicans, Epstein made several references to former President Bill Clinton. And he told several people that Clinton never visited his island. Now, you all know I'm no big Clinton fan, far from it. But, does this mean Clinton is completely innocent? He did nothing wrong? No, not necessarily. However, I will say, and I've said this before, Clinton has never been sued. He has never been accused or arrested or charged with a crime, has never had a woman accuse him in relation to Epstein. He's had other accusers. but never in relation to Epstein and never from someone who said that he did anything to them as a child. Trump can't say that. Trump has had someone accuse him. I've talked about that many, many times before, how I spoke with her attorney in in December of 2016, how she had just dropped the case because she and her family were getting so many death threats. So anyway, so I'm going to now want to move on to the 3 emails that really made big news yesterday, in case you haven't seen them. So these were highlighted by multiple news outlets. The first one was written in 2011. So this is several years after Epstein received that slap on the wrist 13-month work release sentence. So in an email, Epstein wrote to Maxwell and he said, quote, sorry, guys, wrong one. He wrote to her and said, quote, "I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Spent hours at my house, or redacted, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc." So we've since found out that the redacted name was that of now deceased Epstein well-known victim, Virginia Roberts Giuffre. And what's interesting, too, I should point out, is that Maxwell responded to Epstein when he said this, and she said, "I have been thinking about that." So, again, this shows, or as I said in the beginning, this shows that she flat out lied. She either flat out lied to Todd Blanche, the deputy AG and Donald Trump's former personal attorney, or she just never really said anything and they made the whole conversation up when he went and visited her in prison. Because she's saying, yeah, I know that Donald Trump spent hours with one of your victims, with Virginia Giuffre. And some people have different takes on this email. Some are saying, well, are they trying to say that Donald Trump was going to rat them out, or maybe he's the one that turned them in? I don't take it that way. I take it as they're wondering why, and this is just my opinion, why Donald Trump hasn't been nailed, why they haven't arrested him, charged him, why he isn't more a topic of the conversation involving the actual crimes. That is my take. I don't know. Anyway, to be fair, Virginia Giuffre said before her death that she never witnessed Donald Trump doing anything illegal or inappropriate. I will say, though, she saw what happened to that woman that I was just referring to, who last accused Donald Trump of assaulting her at Epstein's New York mansion when she was 13. So do we know for certain that Giuffre wasn't threatened or her children weren't threatened? We don't, because the woman who filed the charges against Trump and Epstein said that she was threatened, not only as an adult, but she was threatened as a child. According to her court documents, the reason she didn't come forward sooner was that Donald Trump threatened to make her disappear. That was her allegation in that lawsuit. So, and I have to ask too, why would a grown man, a businessman, well-known businessman, spend hours with a teenage girl at Epstein's home? Right? And what could Epstein have meant about that dog hasn't barked yet being Trump? I mean, it could be that, oh, he hasn't ratted us out, he hasn't gone to the police, or he's not named as a witness. It could be. Other people could be right about that. I take it differently. But anyway, The only explanations are not good for Trump, right? They're like, there's no explanation that just waves this all away and it's so innocent. It either means he was involved or he at least knew what was going on and he did nothing about it. And the next email exchange that I have to share with you guys kind of hints at either or both of those scenarios. So in December of 2015, when Donald Trump was scheduled for a CNN interview because he was running to be the president, author Michael Wolff, he messaged Epstein and he said, quote, "I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you." After Epstein asked, what do you think Trump should say? Like, if we could craft his response, what do you think he should say? Wolff replied to him, quote, "I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or in the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime." So they're obviously like colluding, trying to come up with a way that Epstein can leverage what he knows about Donald Trump and use it to his benefit. It absolutely sounds like he has some sort of leverage over Trump. And Wolff was aware of that, right? And Wolff, as everybody may know, he interviewed Epstein at length. He has something like, 15 hours of Epstein recordings from him interviewing him. And he claims that he has seen photos of Trump with quote unquote topless girls of a certain age. So, who knows? Now, Trump, again, as always, has repeatedly denied all of this. He slammed Wolff as a hack. He said that he lies all the time. But these emails seem to prove that Wolff has been telling the truth, that he has been, giving good information about his conversations with Epstein. So I don't know. We'll see. And then this next email provides even more confirmations. In January of 2019, Epstein and Wolff exchanged more emails about Trump. And Epstein wrote to Wolff and he said, quote, "Of course he knew about the girls, and as he asked Ghislaine to stop." So he made mention first, Trump said he asked me to resign, meaning from his Mar-a-Lago club. Epstein said, I was never a member. And then he says, of course he knew about the girls because he asked Ghislaine to stop. So all of this is so damning. So much so, I should point out, that even Trump humper Megyn Kelly, who just never seems to find any fault with Trump anymore, even she had to admit on her show that the emails, quote unquote, sound bad. No, they are bad. And then after these emails were released by the Democrats on the committee, the Republicans came out and they released their own batch of emails. I think that what they were trying to do was muddy the water with their release, but it ended up only making Trump look worse. So it was a complete fail. But in a 2018 email exchange with former Obama White House attorney Kathy Rumler, Epstein wrote in part, quote, "You see, I know how dirty Donald is. My guess is that non-lawyers, New York biz people have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip." So, I mean, yeah, it's gross that Rumler had a relationship with Epstein. Apparently, she was invited to visit his island. She never did go, but I think that the Republicans were trying to take the heat off of Trump by saying, look over there. she worked with Obama and she was friends with Epstein too, and she was, communicating with him and blah, blah. I mean, they just make Donald Trump look worse. So anyway, it backfired. So Trump had a meltdown over all of this yesterday. I mean, especially because the shutdown is over. And so the new Democratic lawmaker in Arizona was sworn in, and she immediately signed the discharge petition, forcing the Justice Department, or so that it would go to the House for a floor vote to force the Justice Department to release all of the Epstein files. So he flipped out. He was in a complete panic over this whole thing. He started calling lawmakers to try to get them not to sign on to the discharge petition. So he reached out to Congresswoman Lauren Boebert personally and had her come to the White House to try to convince her to remove her name from the petition. And this was like no, casual conversation. This is insane. They actually took her into the Situation Room at the White House. Understand what this means, guys. This is a room that's used to discuss the utmost of highly classified material and issues of national security and importance. Pam Bondi was there. The Attorney General of the United States was there. By all accounts, FBI Director Kash Patel was there. There were some early reports that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche was there, but I've since heard that he was not, so I don't know for sure. But they all went into the Situation Room where they discuss plans to bomb other countries, where you can't have any devices. It is a completely secure area so that no one can listen in on your conversations. That's where they took her to talk to her about flipping her vote on this Epstein issue. So if that doesn't tell you how bad this is for Trump, I don't know what will. Now, to her credit, Boebert refused. And according to Annie Carney, she's a reporter, Boebert, because of what they did, she is now convinced that there is something really serious going on here. Annie Carney wrote, "My understanding is that the relentless pressure campaign that has included carrot, stick, good cop, bad cop has made her even more dug in, suspicious, and convinced there's a conspiracy at play." And then Trump also tried to get a hold of cray-cray Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Apparently, he wasn't able to get her on the phone. I don't know if she's avoiding him or what is going on with her. Who knows with her? But anyway, she's probably out accusing some random man again of something he didn't do. But anyway, so the House is now going to be forced to take a full vote on this Epstein issue. It was supposed to be early December based on the rules and how the whole discharge petition works. Now, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is saying, no, it's going to happen sooner. I'm going to bring it up for a vote sooner. I suspect that he's going to try to do it the week of Thanksgiving, that he's going to hope that enough people are tuned out and busy with family and preparing for the holiday and cooking and cleaning and traveling, that they are not going to pay attention. So that's my guess, is why he wants to do it sooner rather than later. But I mean, either way, it's not good. And, do we really think, like, even if they take the vote on this, then it has to go to the Senate? Is the Senate going to pass it? It's very dubious that they'll actually pass it. I don't know for sure. If they don't, like, if enough Republican senators say no, they have the majority. So that's that. But they will have to explain to their constituents why they're covering for pedophiles. And then it has to get over the hurdle of, if it doesn't clear 66 votes in the Senate, Donald Trump can just veto it, which again, it looks bad, makes him look even more guilty than he already does. But, you know, does he care? Probably not. He'll hope that, people will be outraged and people will be pissed off for a little while and then it'll blow over. And, most of the hardcore Kool-Aid drinking MAGA sycophants, yeah, they will just blow right past it. They'll find some way to rationalize it and move on. Yeah, because when it comes down to it, they don't really care about children as much as they do about Donald Trump and owning the libs. So, pretty sad. Anyway, the next few weeks, they're going to be interesting, right? Because narcissists become very dangerous when they feel like they're about to be exposed, when they feel like they're backed up against a corner. They don't like that. They just get crazy. So we'll see. And speaking of narcissistic sociopaths, an unnamed whistleblower is now providing House Democrats with information on Ghislaine Maxwell. And the whistleblower told them that Maxwell is preparing a commutation application to submit to the Trump administration. So, yeah, this is, her way of saying, hey, pay up. I appreciate the digs. I appreciate that you sent me to this little puppy prison over here in Texas, and it's much better than where I was, but you still owe me. So the whistleblower said Maxwell is receiving special treatment. So this includes customized meals. They're also delivering these meals to her in her room. And the warden is personally arranging private meetings for Maxwell and her visitors. Not only are Maxwell's visitors allowed to enter through a special private entrance, but the warden is providing all of them with, quote unquote, snacks and refreshments. I'm not kidding. This is some sick shit. This is the accomplice to the most prolific child predator known throughout history. And they're treating her like she's freaking royalty. And then they're also being granted special permission, meaning her visitors, to bring in laptops. So that's not typically allowed because of the security risk, because it allows her to communicate with the outside world and there's nobody watching. Normally when you're an inmate, they're listening to your calls, they're monitoring all of your online activity. They can't do that with this when people are bringing her private laptops. It's insane. And then the Guardian news outlet reported this. They wrote, in one alleged instance, the whistleblower said that when the phone lines went down for other inmates, Maxwell was given special or specific instructions about who she should tell her contacts to call and how those personnel would then connect to relay the call to Maxwell. The whistleblower further reportedly told the House Democrats that when Maxwell wanted to review and edit documents quickly, she essentially used the warden as her personal secretary and administrative assistant. The news release states that Maxwell's correspondents would email documents directly to the warden, who would provide them to Maxwell, who would review and edit them and provide them back to the warden to scan and provide to the original sender. So this is why I heard a report saying that basically the warden is tired of being Maxwell's personal bitch. Yeah, this is just obscene. And Maxwell has now been given a puppy to play with. So as I mentioned before, and you guys may have heard elsewhere, this prison, because of, it's just typical like white collar criminals and like, nonviolent offenders, they have puppies that come in and then they train them to be service dogs. Well, because of what Maxwell is accused of, because of the crimes that she was convicted of, she is not allowed to have puppies. But yeah, that's what they're doing. They're let me bring this up for you so you guys can see I'm not making this up. She apparently has been, I don't know if she's been given a puppy to train or if she's just been given time to like hang out and play with one. So I just, I don't even know what to say anymore. I don't even know what to say. Part of me hopes that Trump does release Maxwell, and there's two reasons. For one thing, his voters wouldn't be able to excuse this away, right? They would finally see his true colors. They would not be able to explain this and, come up with all kinds of excuses for why he is setting free a child predator. There would be no denying that he was involved in this, because why else would he do that? And then two, I would hope that one of the families, at least one of the families of one of the Epstein victims, would find Maxwell and introduce her to some street justice. I'm just saying. So anyway, I will let you know when I hear more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.